Good evening, everybody. This is Tinsley Myrick and
Dana Tapia.
Remax of Orange Beach with the Gettin Beachy Podcast. So, how are you doing tonight, Dana?
I'm just as beachy as can be. Happy to be here. Happy to bring our guest on. Very
Yeah,
exciting. Very exciting times.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, let's go ahead and bring her out.
Bring
This
her
is
out.
this is Lisa Walker of Clear Title, and here she is. Hey, Lisa.
Hey,
Hey, Lisa.
how are we?
Now, Lisa, Dana, you know Lisa, she's a major player around here in the old closing game, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
She
she's
can solve the
closed.
problems.
She solves a lot of problems every day, don't you, Lisa?
Well, we try. Yes, yes. Some are better than others, but yes, we do try.
Well, I can say that you have been my closer for many years now, and I've been very happy. I'm thrilled with the relationship. You've really taken care of me and my client, so I want to thank you for that. And the
Quite the
first
honor.
question thank you. The first question I have for you, well, I have two questions. How long have you been in the business, and how long have you owned Clear Title? Because you're not just a closer there; you own it.
Correct. So I've been doing this probably for a total of 30 years, plus 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And Clear Title, we started in 2005. So,
Oh, wow.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, that was a year after 2 years after I got licensed. So
Really?
yeah, I got licensed in 2003 and I went full time in 2004. So, and I was closing with somebody who worked in your office.
Correct.
So that's how I met you.
That is correct. Yes.
And she left the business, and so then you became my gal.
Pick me. Yes. And we've been working on it ever since.
That's right. So, before we jump into title insurance, because the name of this video is "Do I really need title insurance?" That should make you smile. Um, Tell me, you grew up here, didn't you? You went to high school with Dana.
Yes, I
That's
did.
right.
That's right.
We graduated the same year.
Yes, we
I won't
did.
disclose that year for your sake, Lisa.
I'll,
For
But
your sake.
I'm loud and proud about how old I am, but
I mean,
I, I'll
I,
keep it to myself.
I'll be
Well, I
59 this
graduated the
year.
same year,
Me
y'all. We graduated
too.
all the same year.
Oh, we did. That's
Yeah.
right.
Happy
Oh,
1983.
there
Yeah,
you
there we
go.
go.
You can't
Gen
beat it,
X.
man.
Woo! Gen X in charge. So you've lived down here the whole time?
So my mom and dad had a place over here from the 60s, and then 2 months before Frederick hit, moved over here full time, and I started the 8th grade. So been here ever since.
Okay. Oh, where'd you come from?
Mobile.
I see. Okay, but so you lived on the Gulf
Ah.
Coast this whole time.
Hmm.
See, I didn't know you were a city slicker.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
knew?
Who knew?
I learned something new today.
So 8th grade was 1978?
Oh, I
Possibly.
can't do that
I,
math.
I was like, I can't go back there.
Well, see, I'm the same age,
Right.
but
For
so
4
that was
years.
pre-Frederick,
79.
pre-Hurricane Frederick.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So after you moved here, there was a big hurricane, and then you saw the boom, right? The big boom down here.
Oh, yes, we saw the boom, didn't we, Dana?
We did.
We did.
Had no idea it would lead to what it is today.
Right.
I
And
remember
us
being
doing this
thrilled that we
podcast.
got what did we get in Foley first? Was it Hardee's? And
I
what a
think
big deal
I
that
think
was.
so. Yeah.
Fast
Hardee's,
Eddie's maybe, and then Hardee's, and it was like we were big time, man.
and then we got Hobos. Do you remember that?
Ooh, I
The chicken
do.
place.
Well, I've
Oh,
never heard of
Tasty
hobos.
Freeze. Tasty Freeze
Oh,
was first,
Yep.
I
Well,
think.
let me ask you this. So, do you remember in high school when you'd go over the bridge going over to like Florida way? There were three brick houses
Mm-hmm.
from
Yes.
the bridge
Oh,
all the
I
way to the
remember
Florida
those.
line, and
I remember those.
they were on a slab.
Yep.
Helen
Yeah,
Tampre's, the
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah,
those,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, just
That's
3
right.
houses, no condos.
I
Yeah.
remember somebody. I knew somebody who lived in one of those houses. I think they rented it, and I would go over there and hang out at the beach. And
Mhm.
my first visit here was in 1987, and then I moved here in '90. So it's changed a lot since then. Like all the
Significantly.
condos in Orange Beach weren't there, you know.
Yeah,
So, and here we are
and here
doing
we
a
are.
podcast, and we're all in the real estate business.
That's right.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yep, yep.
So I want to ask you that question that if anybody's clicked on this video, they probably want to know, why the heck do I need title insurance? Do you have a simple answer for that?
Well, so title insurance. Everybody always wonders why they have to get new title insurance. Well, the owner's title policy, that only is for that specific person, that specific owner. So every
Right.
time somebody buys it, that owner's title policy covers the seller, and the time between when that seller bought the property to when the new buyer owns it, that owner's title policy covers that buyer from that point back 60 years.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
do a 60-year search. So each owner's title policy is for that specific purchaser
On that specific
on
date.
that specific date when they
Yeah.
close.
Okay.
And an
Right.
owner's title policy never goes away. It's
Okay.
always in place. So even after they sell a piece of property, that owner's title policy is forever,
Protects them.
protects them.
Something
And
pops up.
and so a lender's title policy goes away once the loan has been paid off.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, that does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we always ask people for their previous policy, because in our area, it's standard for the seller to provide an owner's title policy for the new buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that seller can give us a copy of their owner's title policy, then we
There's a
can
little discount.
we give them a discount, that reissue credit, and it
Sure.
just helps all along.
Yeah,
That's a good thing. But that's not standard everywhere, that the seller traditionally pays for that policy for the buyer. I know that has caused a little confusion over the years.
Yes, that is not standard everywhere. It's not even standard everywhere in Alabama.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
I do have an explanation that I typically go to, is like, I'll say to the seller, like, because they'll say, "Oh, and wherever they live, that the buyer pays it." I said, "Well, here it's opposite, but either way, you only pay it once, just like you do back home, either coming or going, but you only have to pay it once." That usually makes them feel better. I said,
right.
"Did someone bought it for you when you bought the property?" And they have to think about it, and they go, and sometimes
Yeah.
they go and look to make sure,
Mhm.
but unless it was pre-construction or something. So then that settles them down a little bit, because they only paid it once.
Right. You only pay it once, and that policy lasts forever. That
Right.
owner's title policy lasts forever. So, and I know people think that they don't really need it, but you'd be amazed at what people will do while they own a piece of property, flipping it
Give us an
through
example, Lisa.
different things. And well, I mean, a lot of people, so we get asked a lot if there is a transfer on death clause in Alabama. So that would be like somebody taking title to a piece of property all by themselves and then saying, well, if I die, I want this to transfer to my niece or whoever, instead
Okay.
of
Title policy.
taking care of that in their will.
Okay.
So in Alabama, you have to have the two people on the title with rights of survivorship. 'Cause
Okay.
we don't have that transfer on death.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's good information. Yes.
Yeah.
So
But
to
in some
clarify, so
places, they do have that,
I
correct?
believe they do.
And
And
on your title policy, you can have transfer upon death to whomever and circumvent having to do it in the will.
so I guess that they would have that in wherever. I'm just talking about on the deed.
Okay,
Because a lot
gotcha.
of people are trying to avoid having to go through probate.
Okay,
Yeah, and go through that process. And,
gotcha.
the only way to do that is if you're actually on the title and you have rights of survivorship, unless you have it in a trust or you do the planning through the will. Yeah.
okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. Well, speaking
Yes.
of trust, we were just talking about. So I just had a closing, and you were very. I was sitting there with you, and you were very relieved that my sellers had a bank account in the name of the trust.
Yes.
And go ahead and tell us what happens if they don't.
So if you don't have the way that we as title insurance companies look at it is that if your property is in the name of the trust, your property is an asset of the trust. So when you sell the property, the money that you make from it is an asset of the trust. So it needs to go into an account, the trust's account.
But
Mhm.
I own the trust, Lisa. Why can't you make
That's
the
my
check out to
money.
It's
me?
my
It's my
money. It's
money.
my money. So it could, if you don't deposit it in an account for the trust or do something else, it could trigger a tax event for you.
And
Oh,
what
we don't
happens if
like
you
tax.
issue a check? If you issued a check to the trust and they took it home, would they be able to cash it? Would they may have to open an account?
A lot of people find out that they have to open an account for the trust. And
Okay.
then they'll call us back and say nobody ever told us that. Not even the attorney that set up the
Wow.
trust for us.
Oh,
So
goodness.
your client said, you can thank my attorney because he made us set up
Do
an account
that.
for the trust. And I was like,
Well, you would think
yay.
that that would happen every time, but apparently not.
It does not. And it's very stressful for us because it causes stress for other people when they find
Yeah.
out that they really do need an account. And it's a
Well, they
lot of,
think they're getting a big bunch of money, and then there's some work they have to do before they can.
Complications.
Yeah.
right, complications, and it stresses out. And I get it. I get it.
Well, I know that we've heard, there's always some really good stories about about title problems with title, and when at closings you find all kinds of good stuff that's going on, or you got 27 sellers and
Yes.
and they're
Yes.
all over the country, and there's issues like I couldn't believe like in this area that there are holes. How would you say it? Holes in the title history, in the
Yes.
title.
Gaps.
There's
Gaps, holes, or you need some clarifications because you've got family histories and there may or may not be the documentation for the family as it has come down. The title came down through the family, has been
Like if
passed
it's
down.
generational, been
Yes.
passed down, and there's not really
Yes.
good documentation,
Right.
which that happened in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So you have to go and find people who have known the family for years and years and put affidavits of records
And you did that.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Disinterested people who have nothing to do with the closing other than to say, I know all of these people and they are the children of this person and they have no other children. And
Okay.
yeah, kind of just making sure that there's no outstanding interest, nobody's out there that could come back and say, hey, I have an interest in that property.
Wow. Okay.
What a
And so
hassle.
since we sell a lot of condos and
really.
homes, we sell a lot of condos and homes in neighborhoods, so it doesn't come up a lot for Dana and me, but you see it all. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you you
Oh
see it
yeah.
all. We've seen it all. Luckily
Well,
with the condos it's pretty straightforward, right?
you would think
But do tell us a story.
Tell us about you shouldn't change anything when you're got something under contract. Don't do anything different.
Please don't do anything different. Please don't. Or, if you like, I've had people that show up at closing and say, here's my new LLC that we just formed, and we want to put it in the LLC. And I'm like, well, have you talked to your lender about that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and they're like, didn't people don't realize
That changes the rate. That could
that
change
it's a
the rate.
big deal for them.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when you have to have the conversation that, you might want to do that after closing. And most lenders
Right.
don't care if you do it after closing, just as long as you're making your payments.
Or somebody quit their job before they came in for closing.
Yes.
And told her, and she had to tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
involved.
I'm sitting there with the lender because he was 15 minutes late, and he walks in and says, I'm sorry I'm late, but
Oh, that's right. The lender was there.
I just had an argument with my boss and I quit.
And the lender said what?
My work here is done. She got up and left. And he looked at me and he was like, is everything good? I was like, nope, you are done.
Flabbergasted. That buyer was flabbergasted. We lost. Here she is. She's back.
Where'd she go?
She got
There's
There's a
kicked
little
off.
hiatus.
So what
Sometimes
the
a girl
lender
needs a break.
Dana, what the lender said was, my job is done here now. And just person had to leave. There's not going to be a closing.
Wow.
Yeah, no closing. No closing at all. There's just, so many different stories.
Yeah. If you don't have a job, you can't get that loan.
Not so much. And please don't do anything. We've had people that pull up in the parking lot with a new motorhome. And we're like, where'd you get that?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And furniture, that's a big deal. They go ahead and order all this furniture and put it on their Amex and think, well, we want to be ready. That can cause an itsy problem too if they have good taste.
True. True.
And I asked Lisa, I said, Dana, I said, now, if the lender's not there, do you have to tell anybody? And she said, yes. I got to tell them.
Gotta tell us.
You're kind of the lender representative in that situation, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Just double checking.
Those closing protection letters, those closing protection letters that we offer everybody, the lender always gets one right off the bat. And that says that we will follow their instructions before we do anything else.
Yeah.
So, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's important.
Oh yeah.
So what's the lesson of the day, Dana?
There have been many lessons.
But don't be buying stuff after you go into contract. Do not
don't do
anything.
that.
Don't buy any
motorcycles.
Don't get a car.
No boats.
Don't quit your job. Don't.
No big furniture.
Hold them. Just hold them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Put the furniture on a. Well, I don't want to be accused of bank fraud or anything. Never mind. Don't buy anything.
That's right. Just behave for
just that bit.
Yeah. Dana froze up. Oh goodness. So we'll wait till she settles whatever's going on there. I'm going to take her out and then bring her back in. Let's see. No. Okay. I have a question for you, Lisa.
Okay.
And there she is. So you said that you listened to the podcast a couple weeks ago where our broker owner of Remax Orange Beach, Patrick Daly, was talking about the market, and you had some interesting thoughts about that. You thought he was correct in his opinion.
I thought that he gave some good advice. Honestly, there's so much information flying around out there. People have to figure out a way to be able to feel like they're getting the real information, and they can only do that through good agents. you know?
Yeah, because sometimes people are just blowing smoke, wouldn't you
Well,
say?
Well, there's a lot of sensationalism to get views from people who want to be internet stars too. And so they say
sure.
all these crazy things to grab attention.
Right.
And people don't know that they're saying it just to get attention versus it being real information for them to be able to base a good business decision off of.
And don't be
That's right.
confused. We would like to be internet stars, but we want to do it in a way without having
That's
to
right.
lie.
That's right. Or sensationalize.
Well,
Yes.
I believe that if anybody got any information from y'all, that they would be able to tell that it's just like, just give me the
Yeah.
facts, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all this
Thank
is going to
you.
pass. Yeah. It's all, thank you very much, Lisa. And this is all going to, turn around at some point, and insurance is going to get better priced as we get more carriers in the market, and interest rates are going to shake out. Now, we're probably not going to see 3.2 or whatever, 3.2, but it might be 6%. And
I
Time will
think,
tell.
yeah, and I think that maybe towards the middle or the end of the second quarter, or maybe in the third quarter, the rates are going to start going down. And I think it's reasonable to say that, to me, that for primary residences, and I'm not making any predictions or anything, but for primary residences, I think it's reasonable for them to be like in the threes and the fours
oh,
versus the
really?
twos.
Really?
Twos are not, I mean, whenever I got my rate, which was in 16, my you know my final rate on my mortgage, I bought it down to 3.25, and I was ecstatic with
Nice.
that. Yeah, and I was holding there on a 15-year fixed, and I
Yeah.
was just ecstatic with that. And I think that for primary residences,
Right, right,
yeah,
right. And we deal with a lot of investment and second home, but which it'll make it a little higher.
That's
But
right.
which I
even that's going to be better.
yeah, I was going to say, I think it's realistic for those to be like 4.5,
Wow.
somewhere in there to fives. I think that's a good
I
place to
like your
live.
optimism.
Well, I
I
mean,
like your optimism too. Like,
Yeah.
Lisa, when's this going to happen, Lisa?
golly,
Give us a date,
well,
man.
I just think that the sevens and the eights are not sustainable. I mean, I know that
Right.
everybody would like to be there, but
Yeah.
we're never going back to the twos.
No, no.
Yeah.
And that was,
And when I started in 2004, they were 6.
yeah,
And then we got
And
spoiled at
hopefully
some
we
point.
won't ever go back to the 18% either.
no,
I remember that when I was young.
no double
Yeah.
digits.
No.
Just keep it
Yep.
between, like 3.5 to 7 if you have to. But,
Yeah.
Yep.
keep us out of the eights, man.
Yeah.
That
So as
eight's
soon
a
as we get
dirty
rid of this
number.
inflation, if some national events take place to get rid of that inflation, then all the stuff will follow, don't you think? So, what else do you want people to know about? I have a question. Like, a lot of people, they've been in their markets. This is the only place I've ever sold real estate, and since 2003. But I've never sold it anywhere else. I do have a license for Florida, but their market's very similar. In this market, why do we have closing companies rather than attorneys like they
Okay.
have in so many other?
So actually in Alabama, from probably about Montgomery north of the state,
Uh-huh.
it's mainly attorneys that do the closings.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of title companies so much up there. And then from Montgomery south, it's title companies, but a lot of attorneys are coming down here and we have several attorneys down here that are doing the closings. So it's just
How did
kind of,
that happen? It's just kind of a cultural thing, it just
Mhm.
started, and
Yep,
because I know that you use an attorney to do the warranty deed.
right.
They have to do it, I guess,
They
and they
have
do
to
the
they have to do that, but even in an attorney's office for closing, they're going to have somebody like me that sits back there and does everything that I do, and
okay.
and then but they charge an attorney's fee on top of the closing fee. A
Would
lot
you
of
say it's
times,
cheaper to use a closing company?
sometimes, yes, yes,
I
I
think I
mean,
would say less expensive, not
yes,
cheaper.
more more economical.
There
Yeah,
you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
but
Easier on the pocketbook.
it's we all do the same thing, so you
Right.
know, I
Yeah,
don't.
so that's interesting that from Montgomery down, it just that's I think that I find it very interesting. Um,
And on the flip side of that, like in from Montgomery up, they don't do a whole lot of owner's title policies. They don't believe in them. They'll get an abstract. So the abstract has a copy of all of the documents in the chain of title, and an abstract can be like this thick
what's
of
the difference?
documents. You can have all the documents, and they say, here are all the documents for you to read through if you want to. But
And it's the
they don't have
same.
any, yeah, that thick. Yeah. So imagine all the
And they
documents
kind
in
of
the
have to know what they're doing to be able to read that correctly also, right?
right,
I
right.
mean, that would be kind of confusing that this one begat that one and that would be a nightmare. Oh
Yeah.
goodness.
And
Or it
see,
Thick.
could be really interesting.
we've seen some of the
Like
legal
reading a
Want us to
novel.
do that at
descriptions.
your closing?
The
Well, I
some of
really
the
didn't see them reading it at closing, but they could read it later.
yeah, yeah. Uh,
So if anybody, we've got several people in the live stream right now watching, and Miranda, I know that Miranda Bennett, she liked the video, and if she's still watching, she could chime in. And we
Hey,
also had
Miranda.
Chip Forrest. There's several people watching from your X account, Dana.
That's
So
because
reach out
I'm
to your
cool,
fans there.
man.
Yeah.
Hey, fans.
No, you can't ask questions from X. It won't show up here, but unfortunately. But if you're on
Oh,
Facebook or YouTube. So is there anything else? Did I already ask this? Anything else you want us to know about title insurance? Did I already ask that?
um,
Any words of wisdom for buyers, sellers, agents that might be watching?
gosh. Well,
way to put her on the spot,
I was
man. You
just gonna
asked that
say I can't
already.
really.
She gave us some good stuff.
Okay, well,
Give
well,
us
what?
all
Okay,
right.
then
Give us a nightmare story, Lisa.
Mm,
One story over this expansive 30-year
yes.
stress-filled career of yours. Give us just one kind of juicy story about
one
a
juicy one.
nightmare that you had to fix.
Well, I have a nightmare, and it was not fixable because we had
Oh,
Oh,
to. Yeah, it was. So we did a closing for a piece of property out of Baldwin County, and
okay.
we had to hire an office, an attorney's office in that county to do the search.
Okay.
And they did the search, and we closed it according to their search. And about a month or so later, the new owner called us and said, "Why are people calling me telling me not to cut trees off their property?"
oh yeah.
And I was like, "That's the face that I made."
Mm.
And
Wow.
yeah, and I was like, I don't know, but let me see. So we went back and we got in touch with the attorney's office, and they didn't let us know that the courthouse in that county had burned in the 60s, and there was a gap in the title.
Oh no.
So these people actually did own an interest from a family a long time ago, and so we had to quantify the loss. So we had to go and figure out how much property they owned and what the timber rate was, and buy their interest out.
Whoa.
There you go.
Whoa.
That was very
So
special for about
the
7
buyers,
months.
it did all in the end work out, and the buyers ended up with all the
Mhm.
property they thought they were going to have, but
Oh
they
yeah.
just had to pay more to have that.
Well, they didn't have to. That's just it. They didn't have to do anything because the title insurance kicked in.
Boom.
Yep. Yep.
How
So,
nice is
And
that?
then
There you
Lisa
go.
had some stern words for that attorney.
well,
And
Boy, I bet you
we
did.
don't we just play in our own sandbox now. We don't
yes,
There you
yeah,
go.
you'll
places
never. You lost their number. That attorney.
true that. True that. Yeah. But I mean,
Oh man.
it's significant because you know, it's like when a family their heirs just keep going out and out and out. And
That's
in
right.
small towns and where you have timberland, people know that they own an interest in that. And if nobody ever contacts them and they see something changing on that property, they're like, "Hey man, what's happening on my property?
What's up?
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Don't do that."
Yeah.
Ooh.
And they contacted you and not the
Mhm.
buyer. They contacted you. Well, the buyer said, "Here,
No.
you need to call them."
The buyer sent them a cease and desist letter for them to stop cutting any timber off the property. And so then the new owner,
Oh.
oh yeah, then the new owner sent me he called me and said, "I'm gonna send you a nice little email of what's going on." And I said, "Okay." And he called me and I called him back. I said, "Wowza. Okay, let me see what I can find out for you." Yep.
Mm.
So we gathered all the troops and got it all resolved.
How many whoppers like that do you have a year?
We don't get those very often, thank goodness. Yeah.
If you just play in the sandbox here, you're pretty good.
Well, we still have
Fort
to.
Morgan Road is
Yeah,
some
I
problems
was
down there.
going
A
to
little bit.
say that Fort Morgan Road has a few gifts that keep on giving right now, but it's okay. We know how to deal with that. A lot of people. Sometimes we have to find releases for really old mortgages, and
Right.
those lenders will have been bought out 3 or 4 times. So you know how banks will
Right.
consume other banks. Yeah.
And they'll just never have sent a release.
Never send a release, or they'll just put a kind of a blanket release of records saying we're releasing everything, but we're still holding it if just in case we have any interest. So you're like, thanks.
Well, and I've not heard you say very often that you couldn't fix something. It's really not in your DNA to
No,
say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you."
no, no, absolutely
No,
not.
no,
Absolutely not.
you're gonna go down with a fight and to get it closed, and it's one of the things I really appreciate about you. So, um, well, is there
You
anything
guys
that
are oftentimes truly the unsung heroes in a transaction. You know, everybody says, "Yay, go Dana, you did great." And then the lender, of course, they're the ones giving the money. And nobody realizes that the title company really and truly can hold this whole shebang together. And it's kind of almost a little bit of a thankless task, it
Yeah.
seems like to me, other than from us to you guys.
Well, let's face it, all things roll downhill to the title person because if
Pretty
everybody's
much.
mad about something, that's who's gonna get it. And
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
admire how you're able to hold it together because you get pressure from the agents, the buyer, the seller, the lender, the who else? I mean, anybody else that's sending you bills that you want that you got
Oh,
the HOA people. Sometimes they're not responsive, and you're trying to get what is owed by the HOA, and
A
there's a
lot
lot
of
of
moving
players.
parts, a lot of
There's a lot
plates
of
you're
spinning
juggling.
plates. Yeah, a lot
yeah.
of
Yeah.
A lot of
spinning.
spinning plates. Yeah. Yeah, you got the
So,
HOA, and sometimes the HOA doesn't tell us about assessments, and that's always
Oh,
fabulous.
nice.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. So, we gift
nice.
those sometimes. We give the gift of assessment sometimes.
Oh, no.
Well,
Somebody's got to do it.
just gonna say that's what the
Oh,
title company's for sometimes, but you got a lot of moving parts, and sometimes it's just you're just glad that because everybody's buying and everybody's selling for a reason, and you're just glad to help people realize accomplish their reason so that they can move on to their next phase.
That is
Yeah.
nice. I think that's the beautiful part for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Getting to
and
see it
just
all
so
come to fruition.
Yeah.
people also know that over the years, I've had a good handful, maybe 2 handfuls of sellers that did owner financing, and you get that paperwork. I guess you get that from the attorney. You work with the attorneys on 1031 tax exchanges, reverse 1031s, all kinds of good stuff.
Man, y'all
So
making me need a drink. I don't know how she does all that. Woo-wee.
Now,
Oh,
how can people reach you? I got the email right there on the screen, Lisa@getcleartitle.com.
yep. It's the
Um,
getcleartitle.com, and you can call me. My number, do you do that? I don't know. The Get Clear
Sure,
Title's
throw
the
it out
best.
there if you
No,
want
the
to.
Get Clear Title's the best. That way I can,
yeah,
when I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm checking my emails.
Yes.
I know you do that.
Very
I know you
familiar.
Yes. Yes.
I'll get replies from you in the middle of the night or on the Saturday or Sunday afternoon. I know Lisa's working. But also I'll send my clients to you for, like, if they don't even have a transaction, they just want to put something in an LLC or they want to do something.
Transfer to a trust or
Right. Yeah.
anything like
So
that. Yep.
so
We
these
help
are
people
all
all
the
the times.
different services that you offer, that you help people, and we
Yeah,
appreciate
do
it,
a
and the
quick
clients
claim
appreciate it.
deed, all sorts of things.
Oh,
Tax
yeah.
You're
time,
like a
we get a lot of
magician,
requests.
man.
We get a
You
lot
are
of
like a
requests for HUDs,
magician.
for
Oh,
closing
yeah.
statements when it comes tax time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an expert on a lot of stuff. So, okay, I guess that's it, guys. Is there anything
We've
else?
covered it. We have
Yeah.
covered it.
Yeah.
You tell
Okay.
me.
So thank
Lisa,
you for
can,
coming.
Thank
It was
y'all.
such a
Thank you. That
pleasure.
was very nice.
can we
Thank you
have
so
you
much.
back?
So good to see
Can we?
old friends.
Sure.
All right. Well, we will take you up on that, and thank you so much. And I'm going to end the stream now, so everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for watching.